things went very well. So he rounds the final corner to finish in P6, still a good result for him from the back.
Thanks guys, that was amazing. What? That was fun.
As you'd expect, Buddy Simpson really enjoyed that. Now it is time for Buddy to continue that momentum as Formula 1 heads south to Mexico City.
Welcome to a wet Mexico for today's practice session.
So Formula 1 arrives at the Mexican Grand Prix off the back of a great drive from Buddy Simpson. He is hoping to take that momentum into the Mexican Grand Prix where he doesn't have to take any kind of grid penalty. So, without further ado, let's go in to the qualifying report. As qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix got underway, the big talking point was how the grid penalties were going to shape up the grid, as there are a lot of them. Sauber once again struggled as they were slowest in qualifying. Due to the grid penalties, Alonso would start in 12th on a track which would usually expose the Honda power unit's weaknesses, whilst Carlos Sainz starts in a fantastic 4th due to the grid penalties. One of the few teams to have an average starting position was Haas, as they qualified 8th and 9th, whilst Felipe Massa qualifies in 5th. Esteban Ocon lines up on the front row. Max Verstappen struggled, missing an opportunity to start on pole, whilst both Ferraris start in 6th and 7th, having originally set the fastest times. Lewis Hamilton starts in 11th due to a 10-place grid penalty, 2 places above his teammate. Whilst Buddy Simpson, by virtue of being the fastest driver without a penalty by qualifying in 6th, is promoted to pole position by the masses of penalties. So, taking a look at the starting grid for round 18, it's Buddy Simpson on a shot pole position ahead of Esteban Ocon on a shot front row. Max Verstappen ruled the missed chance ahead of Sainz and Massa. Vettel and Raikkonen should have been on the front row ahead of Grosjean, Magnussen and Hulkenberg. Hamilton starts then ahead of Alonso, Bottas and Kvyat. Ricciardo, Stroll, Van Dorn, Verline, Perez and Ericsson.
In excess of 220 miles per hour and overtaking 2 into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. And joining me amongst the cheers of the phenomenal Mexican fans, it's Anthony Davidson. And welcome along to this historic circuit. What an occasion this is.
Yeah, it's hard to believe when you see the passion this country has for the sport that Formula 1 was away from Mexico for so long. It's fantastic to be here, and let's hope that the race lives up to the party atmosphere we've got going. It's a real fast track this. We get up to Monza levels of speed down the main straight thanks to the high altitude here at over 2,000 metres above sea level. And with that comes the challenge of having less downforce in the corners. So that makes it a really demanding circuit, both for the drivers and engineers.
So, slightly an unusual scenario due to all those grid penalties that are being served by pretty much all the front runners. Buddy Simpson was basically the first of the drivers who didn't have a penalty, and he will be starting in an unlikely pole position ahead of the Force India of Esteban Ocon behind him. So a very unusual grid, seeing all the front runners further back on the grid. As you can see, the formation lap is underway, but even taking this out of account, Buddy Simpson did actually originally qualify in P6 before the 5 cars ahead had penalties, and alone that was one of his best qualifying of the season. But obviously now he is going to be starting at the front of the grid because of all those grid penalties being served by all the drivers in front. It's going to be a tough ask for him to actually win the race, but a really good points finish is definitely on the cards for Buddy here today. I mean, he's had a fairly solid end to the season since he had that 3-race no points streak. He has just been on fire as Buddy, and he's hoping to further advance in the championship with 3 races to go. as you can see, he's running the final corner, about to line up on the grid here in Mexico. So, he's about to hit his box. And he's got a longer wait for the rest of the field to line up this time than he usually would. Obviously being at the front of the grid. So he's got to basically wait for everyone to line up. But as you can see, we have the lights in Mexico. Lights out, away we go. And Buddy gets not the best of launches, and he immediately goes to the inside to cover off the position. But as you can see, the Williams of Felipe Massa moves right across there, heading into turn 1. And there's more contact. A few people being a bit crazy on the entrance to the first corner, but Buddy has somehow survived in P1.
Any damage, Buddy?
No, sake, some people are so stupid on the first lap.
So Buddy obviously not happy about that, but he has somehow survived the first few corners in the lead of the race. But it is going to be quite a tall order for him to hold that lead. As you can see, he's got Felipe Massa behind. And he's a car, I mean, even though he's got the Mercedes engine, because he's in a car that's kind of on par with the Renault, he's a car that he can be happy to have in between himself and Max Verstappen, who's likely to be challenging him. So for the first few laps, Buddy was obviously going defensive and trying hard to make sure he can stay ahead of Massa. But Vettel is now ahead of Verstappen, and he is right behind Felipe Massa, but he hasn't quite got the best of exits. And as you can see, Felipe Massa is closing, but as you can see, Sebastian Vettel is really got a lot of speed down the straight. Buddy has to focus on trying to defend from Massa, but Vettel trying it round the outside, and he has made that move stick. So we have unfortunately lost the lead of the race. Now moving on to lap 17, as you can see, Vettel has actually bitten served quite a few cars. We're staying out long to make this strategy work to ensure that we have good pace afterwards, but now it's starting to wonder if this strategy was a good idea because of the undercut. As you can see, Felipe Massa's right behind us, who we're having to defend from, and Valtteri Bottas is actually the car right behind Felipe Massa. It wouldn't take long for Bottas to pass Massa, and as you can see, he is right behind us on the straight, and with the power of that Mercedes engine in the works Mercedes, it's going to be a tough job to defend this position. As you can see, Bottas has the run, and he has taken that position. It was actually the end of that lap that we pitted in for our first scheduled stop. As you can see, we were actually reacting to Massa looking behind, and as he came in, we decided to make a last minute dart to the pits. So, into the pits that we go. Probably not the most legal pit entrance in the world, but we didn't get any penalty for it. So we exit the pits. And unfortunately, we have actually been undercut by quite a few cars, which is basically the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. As you can see, Ricciardo just in front of us. So we have actually been undercut by quite a few cars, and staying out maybe wasn't the right idea. So we are basically in de facto 7th right now. Now, we were slowly starting to pull a gap over Massa behind. We were being a bit careful on fuel usage to give us fuel at the end. As you can see, we're on the back of the McLaren of Fernando Alonso, who was not a hard car to pass. Cough, cough, Honda engine, cough, cough. But Buddy is up into P7 and he's actually chasing down Daniel Ricciardo for 6th. And moving on to lap 29 now, as you can see, Buddy is fairly close behind the Red Bull. Is actually starting to be held up because Massa's now starting to re-catch up due to the dirty air. As you can see, Buddy has the run on Ricciardo and he locks up quite a lot into the first corner and he tries to rejoin ahead but doesn't quite manage. He ran wide, but now he's got a second burst of DRS heading up towards turn 4 to see if he can make this move stick, and he's going to try it round the outside going into turn 4, and he has made that move stick. And I think Felipe Massa behind might be making the move as well. A very interesting move round the outside, Massa and Ricciardo side by side behind, and I think Massa has actually got that position. So now moving on to lap 48, as you can see, Buddy is into the pits for his second and final scheduled stop. And he unfortunately doesn't actually have another set of Ultra Softs available for use, which is a shame. But once again, he may have stayed out too long. Quite a few people pitted quite before, and he has been undercut by quite a few cars. He's actually down to P12. So really not the best strategy that Buddy has been doing. So he is down to P12, right behind his teammate. Buddy's got very fast tyres. And it didn't take him long to clear his teammate. As you can see, he's behind in the DRS zone. He's going to try it up the inside. It's a very risky lunge down the inside, but he has made that move stick. So looking at the replay, as you can see, Buddy sending a really dramatic lunge down the inside into turn 1. Now the next car to clear was Alonso, and obviously he was not going to be hard to pass, and this was actually quite a lucky move that we were able to get away with, as Lance Stroll was stopped on the side of the road there, and we passed literally just before the yellow flags. So we are up into 10th. Mind you, I don't know why I was allowed to make an overtake where there was quite clearly a car stopped, but that's Codemasters for you. But as you can see, we are right behind Esteban Ocon heading into the final sector, and we dummy him, and we have made that move stick. So we are up into P9. So Buddy really making some good moves at this stage. Now the next car he has to pass is Felipe Massa, and going into the same corner, he's going to, it's not quite as impressive as a move because he did have the momentum, but he has still made it stick. So Buddy up into P8. Now he is behind the Haas of Romain Grosjean. This is a crucial move because Grosjean is now who he is actually catching in the championship. As you can see, he's got the DRS of the Haas driver, and with the power of the newer engine, he is closing in the straight, and he is going to send one up the inside heading into the first corner. And there was a little bit of contact, but he has made that move stick, and he is up into P7.
Well done, Buddy. Now calm down. Just be careful to avoid contact when making moves.
Obviously the team getting a bit concerned about the aggression of Buddy's moves, understandably. As you can see, Buddy is right behind the soft tyre shod Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo, and this is for P6. As you can see, we have the run, and he does try to block us a little bit, but we are able to simply make the move going into the first corner. So we are up to P6 from P12 at the start of the stint. So really good going here from Buddy. That was to kind of be his last action of the race. As you can see, Buddy is heading into the stadium section for the last time, into the final corner and he is going to cross the line to finish in P6, which is a good result for him considering where he was at the start of the stint, and gets him more points to better his championship position. As you can see, looking at the result, it's Vettel who wins from Raikkonen, Verstappen, Bottas. Hamilton actually had a retirement during the race. As you can see, Simpson finishes P6 ahead of Ricciardo, and our teammate finishes P10. We couldn't quite manage to catch up to the Force India of Perez. It's a little disappointment. I mean, to be honest, maybe we expect a bit more than P6, considering that we were actually on pole, which was easy to forget at the end of the race, but still got some good points towards the championship. As you can see, there is Vettel celebrating in the stadium section with the Ferrari team. It really looks like he is going to win this championship. And Buddy, in terms of his own battle, as you can see, there he is getting out of his car, kind of celebrating a bit, but he is catching Romain Grosjean in the standings for P9, which is probably the most realistic position he can hope for. But Buddy pulls off another good race in Mexico. The big question was, can he continue the momentum as Formula 1 heads to Brazil for the penultimate race of the Formula 1 season?